Okay, this is a replay for a game I just played against the computer, and this was my very first time beating the insane AI, so I'm pretty happy about that. Tried several times since StarCraft II came out, but this is the first time. I can beat the very hard AI quite easily, but the difference between very hard and insane is quite a bit of a step up, and I'm not a very good player, so this is a little difficult for me. And I used a little bit of what I hear referred to as meta game information, that is knowledge that is outside of the game that I'm playing, in order to beat the computer. Knowing a little bit about how the computer builds and how they attack in predictable waves, even at the insane level, gave me the edge here, or gave me the information that I needed. If I was a better player with micro and macro, I imagine that the insane AI would be super simple, but I'm just not that good. So what I do here, what I did, obviously I'm scouting. I'm doing my normal build here at the start, except for the fact that I'm skipping gas. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can bunker up here at the ramp and fill the bunkers full of Marines to hold off the initial attack wave. At least that's the plan. Another thing I did was I parked my SCV out on the Zelnaga Tower, which I don't normally do, but knowing when exactly that first wave of attack is coming in was crucial. So now I'm wanting to go ahead and get a little bit of gas, because I do want to get a tech lab and a reactor at some point. And I should say too that my macro in this game really isn't that good, because I'm building out of order, out of my normal order, and I'm just not used to building this way, so it makes my macro slip pretty bad. I get supply blocked several times. So that's kind of an important point, because if my macro were tight, then this would have been a walk in the park. But I was able to beat the insane AI even with pretty bad macro. It was just basically, strategy. So here comes the wave, the first wave. I see it coming in, so I immediately stop all production except for getting units out. I mean, it's a little late, obviously. Oh, and I also brought down a bunch of SCVs to get these bunkers on repair, or to try to repair the bunkers, because I didn't want to lose them here at the start. So that first wave held off pretty easily. Send the SCVs back to work, and macro is fairly decent, got supply blocked, so I'm putting down some additional supply depots, getting my factory up at this point. And I believe, I empty the bunkers and I salvage them, because now I'm planning on moving down here. I believe my SCV died, or I brought it home or something, because I do remember bringing a Marine out to the Zelnaga Tower. So now I'm putting the bunkers down on this level, which arguably I could have done this to begin with, and it would have probably been more efficient, because what did I really accomplish by bunkering off up here and then moving them down here? The answer is not a whole heck of a lot, but it just felt like what I wanted to do or whatever. But then watching the replay, I can see that that might not have been the best decision. However, it is what it is. So now I'm populating these bunkers, and you see again, my macro just really isn't that tight. But the insane AI, obviously their macro is not super great either, but they are ahead of me in supply. So I'm trying to keep all my buildings producing units, trying to continually produce SCVs, trying to continually make tanks, researching siege, and I saw that attack wave coming. So again, switching over to, panic mode, basically trying to get everything down here at the ramp. Unfortunately, I didn't get any SCVs over here this time, but I did hold off that wave. That was pretty close. I think if the computer had pushed in, it would have been bad news. That was pretty close there, because obviously they still had the advantage. So I saw them walking all the way back home, and I'm just continuing here trying to, macro up. And, at this point, my minerals are being spent pretty well, staying quite low, having plenty of problems, keeping enough stuff alive to hold off the computer. But I think at this point, this is where things really started to sway in my favor, because I start to get my engineering bay out finally at the 12-minute mark. I just felt like I couldn't really get it any sooner, but getting upgrades researched is so important, and I just felt like I couldn't afford the upgrades any sooner. A little bit of macro slip in there, but I'm trying to pile up just units is really obviously is what wins games. You've got to have more units than the other guy typically, unless you just have really good micro, then you can out micro the other guy. But as I've already said, my micro is not good, so I rely on overwhelming the opponent. And I'm just continuing producing SCVs, calling down mules, just trying to produce stockpile units. And I know at this point, I want to have medevacs out, because I know the computer is going to stem at me probably on the next wave. So I need to be able to stem against the computer, and in order to do that the most efficient way, you do want medevacs so that you can heal as you're stemming. So here comes the next wave. I see it, and I think I might have even brought some SCVs over this time for repair. I don't remember. But here comes the attack, and there's the computer stemming up, I believe. So now I'm stemming. I'm in a holding position at first. Now I'm moving forward, so I want to take these tanks out. And after this attack, I started feeling pretty good. I just felt like I had the edge, even though I can see here in the supply that I didn't. But the computer, it's a little disheartening to see just how bad their macro is. Wow. So now I'm taking my third. And this was a bit of a mistake. I should have already been moving all my army out here, because if this was a good player... Oh yeah, I remember doing this as well. I knew the computer would be expanding, so I was trying to, slow them down a little bit. I don't know how much that helped, but killed a few of their SCVs, and unfortunately did not take down that command center. But I did see this going up as well, so I know, alright, I really need to, expand and make sure that I keep up, minerals, because I'm gonna get out macroed and out spent basically. Oh, I remember this. The computer sent a ghost up and was going to nuke me. I didn't have any detection, but fortunately I got a scan up just in time to detect the ghost and kill it. So now I'm obviously panic mode, responding, which is not good. You should always be doing this stuff in advance, but now, nevertheless, I'm taking care of it now, getting detection down around my bases. Still trying to do, upgrades. I feel like upgrades are just obviously super critical. I don't know exactly where the computer's at on upgrades at this point, but basically, I guess it's fair to say the game is over at this point. When I was playing, I felt it, that once I was able to hold off those first 2 or 3 waves, I knew that I could then stay far enough ahead of the computer on upgrades to win. So there's really not a lot of point in playing through the rest of it, but I'll just let it play through on 2x. So here comes another pretty good attack. We're pretty even on supply. I'm stemming up. The computer has... What do they have for upgrades? Take a quick look. And I chase down these tanks to kill them, stemming up, and just trying to get as much stuff. It's really... Computer does some really good stuff, like putting that tank up there on the ledge. That was good. I can't hardly see what they have for upgrades. Look up here. Have 0-2 on the bio, 0-1 on tanks. What do I have? 0-1, 2-2, so I'm a little ahead on upgrades. And at this point, I'm throwing down a bunch of extra barracks because I realize now my income's starting to get to the point where I need to have a lot more production facilities. And yeah, this was the point in the game where I had enough units to just continually attack, and I knew it was basically over. So, and this was really sloppy on my part though. I wasn't attacking efficiently. I was just throwing stuff at the computer, just non-stop, just throwing stuff in, not really, well, not microing at all. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. I wasn't even looking at these battles as they were going on. I was just throwing stuff at their doorstep, trying to do enough damage, because I know the computer is kind of dumb in a lot of ways with regards to the way they respond to things. They'll, put down a supply depot in one spot, and they'll just continually build it in that same spot again and again and again, while you just sit there and kill it over and over, which is kind of stupid on the AI's part. So utilizing some of that information, I just continually attacked until they caved in. But again, this is a really big deal for me because, I've never gotten anywhere even close to beating the insane AI. So again, just non-stop attacks until it breaks. Some stupid stuff on my part. That was dumb. I had my medevacs on A move into the middle of the base, and they just came in and got killed. That was pretty stupid, and I wouldn't do that against, a human player. But the computer just rebuilds so quickly that the only thing I'm focusing on is just building more units and A moving them into their bases. And I felt like if I could just continually do that, then obviously, since I had the edge, I would win eventually. And I knew this was a planetary fortress, so I was just kind of keeping some units parked up here and figured I'd take care of that last, rather than totally waste units by throwing it at the PF. So here I'm just kind of swinging around, cleaning up the last of the stuff, moving my units up here. I know I've got all my rally points set up here at this point, taking out the last of it. I already took out these rocks and checked up here, so I knew there was no expo up there. And I'm still, macroing. There's the GG from the insane AI. And I think I said no, just so I could kill every last building. There it is, GG.